And just a quick overview of some of the things I'll be using. I will be using WD-40 as well as white vinegar to clean up a lot of the hardware and metal parts. I have a couple different size sockets here depending on what I might need. I do have some copper foil tape. I'm not going to go through the process of actually shielding everything. That might come in another iteration of this. We're going to use this in a little bit of a different way. I'm going to show you how you can attach that ground wire without using any solder if you don't have a soldering iron. So we'll get to that in a little bit. I also have this little tool here just to cut the copper tape. It's pretty handy. I have a multi-function screwdriver. I don't think I'll end up using it today, but I do have some wood glue as well, painter's tape, and some toothpicks, as well as my entire guitar toolbox at my disposal. And most importantly, I have coffee. I do have some paper towels as well here, and some cleaning supplies for when I use the white vinegar on the hardware, because like I said, especially the bridge is like really rusty, and that's going to take some time to get that stuff off, but we will do what we can. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is actually take the neck off of the guitar. We're going to kind of treat the neck and the body separately. So we'll actually start by just removing the neck, taking a really good look at it, and see what we can do about it. So let's start with that. And as you can see, I have taken the strings off already. I am saving them. I'll explain why later. We might end up using those for something. But for now, let's just focus on getting the neck off the body. So, what we're going to do is take those 4 screws off. 2, 3, 4. And we will take a look at it. So, given how many screws I'm going to have to take out of this guitar, I'm actually going to take out the big guns, my ratcheting screwdriver set. So, real quick, before I take out the last screw, I wanted to show you something. The screws are actually threaded into the body as well as into the neck. Now, that might not seem like a problem at first, because you would think, yeah, they need to be threaded in both to keep them together. But actually, what you want to have happen on a Strat is you want to have the screws slip through the body and only thread into the neck. The reason being, if you wedge the two together and they're both threaded for the screws, you're really only keeping them as tight together as you can when you initially wedge them. So you can clamp them and do this, but I really doubt they took the time to do that. It's actually better. It's going to give you a better contact between the neck and the body if you don't have the holes in the body threaded. But if you just have them just big enough so the screw can slip through it completely and only thread into the neck, that way as you tighten the screw it'll actually snug the neck closer and closer to the body and give you a really good secure point of contact there. So that is actually something we'll be taking care of as well, is we're going to widen out these holes just a smidge so that the screws will just slip through without actually threading into the body. So just so you know. So, as you can see, here's the neck plate, and one of the things that's interesting about this, at least interesting to me, is that you have the actual neck plate, but then you also have this little piece of plastic that sits between them. And I actually like that because that will prevent the piece of metal from indenting the wood on the neck. So that's actually a surprisingly nice touch to have on such a cheap guitar. Definitely keeping that. So, yeah. Now that we have the neck off of the body, we are going to take a look at the body in a little bit, but let's take a closer look at the neck itself. Alright, so for starters, we have the actual holes where the screws thread into the neck. And I might actually just, trim a little bit, maybe with the razor blade. Come in here and flatten that out nicely so there's not any raised bumps or edges here. Overall, I mean, there's scratches, there's dings, but it should still be a playable neck once we take care of the fretwork. The fretwork is the really big problem on this right now. But we're also going to have to address that really dry. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but that's the color it's supposed to be normally. That's the color it is now, just to give you an idea of how dried out that fretboard is. So we are going to take care of that with some lemon oil and really try to bring back some of that color, that luster of the naturally enriched rosewood. We are going to just, generally clean it up as best as we can too. Alright, so I have a box cutter here. Just going to take the razor blade out and just very carefully kind of run it along all the edges here, again just to kind of knock that little bump off of each of the screw holes, just to provide a nice flat surface when we do re-screw the neck to the body. Alright, so what I did is I just took this razor blade and kind of cut and scraped until these are nice and smoothish now. Not perfect, but I'm not going to take sandpaper to it or anything. I think this is good enough. I did clean up a little bit on the edges here, because it is, again, very roughly done, but it's a little bit neater now. Alright, next we are going to uninstall the tuners and get them ready to be cleaned. I gotta tell you, for anybody who doesn't have a ratcheting screwdriver, you're doing it wrong. Got one. Yeah, look at that rust. We've taken out all the hardware from the neck. We have the tuners here, which again you can see are pretty rusted. So we can zoom out a little bit. Pretty rusted, right where the string meets. We do have the neck mounting screws here, the neck plate, and the ferrules that go for the tuners. These are pretty gross as well, not really rusty, just gross. We also have these little string trees, which we might repurpose for something else, but we have them, and they are also filthy. So we're going to give a lot of this stuff a white vinegar bath in just a little bit, but in the meantime, let's actually try to address that really dried out fretboard. Alright, so we have done the same thing on the front face of the headstock as we did on the back part here with the razor blade. So I'm going to go in and clean this part up next, and then we'll start putting some lemon oil on the fretboard and see if we can revive that a little bit. Give you an idea of what I'm hoping it looks like. That's it with the lemon oil freshly on it, and that's what it looks like currently. So let's hope that some of that color comes back. Alright, so I've just gone over it twice with the lemon oil, and it's already starting to dry out in some spots, so it's really soaking this stuff up. I'm going to put the neck off to the side for now and let it absorb what it can, and then we're going to move on to the body. So just to go over the really cheap tuners that we have here, if you've never taken one of these apart before, there's a God, that's gross. There's a set screw. Let's see if I can fix my lighting. Sorry about that, guys. There's actually a set screw right here. Hopefully that's showing up on camera now. There's a set screw here, and this one is really rusty, so we are gonna take this out and clean it up, and there's a lot of other parts here as well. Let's start off with just the actual screw here that is rusted out. So let's take it up, actually use my other screwdriver, it's a little faster. So again, ratcheting screwdrivers are the way to go. So if you back this screw out all the way, it's fairly long, and you can take the tuning head off, and here we have a couple different washers, rings. We have the little collar here. And once this is off, once this is off, we can actually remove the backing. And now you got to look at inside how these tuners actually work, where there's a little kind of worm gear here. And as you turn it, it turns this gear on the bottom, and that's what helps tune the guitar. A lot of times what can happen is that this can get loose, or this screw even. If you were to tighten it, sometimes that can be loose as well and lead to some of the tuning instability problems on these cheaper tuners. In this case, that's not really the issue. It's just that there's so much corrosion that we're going to have to go in and really clean these things up, lubricate them a little bit, and just get them to perform as best as they can. Again, they're never going to be like, truly high quality tuners, but we can probably make them serviceable for our needs, which is really all we're hoping for out of this. So you can see that worm gear has a little ring, plastic ring on either side. So we'll actually go in and clean those up. I might do these one at a time, just so I don't lose track of how they're assembled. But really the main thing for this is just cosmetic. This piece here, there's like green stuff on it. I'm not sure what that is. But again, a lot of this is cosmetic. The gear and the worm gear and the spoke gear and the screws that attach those will want to make sure are nice and snug. When we put them back together, make sure everything's turning smoothly and holding stable. So that's going to be how we try to make the best out of these cheap tuners. Alright, just a quick preview of what we're going to be doing with the white vinegar. We have some of our metal parts in here. And I didn't include the washers and everything in there because I don't want them to get lost. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this white vinegar and dump some of it in this large glass container. And what that's going to do essentially is eat away a lot of the rust. Just going to pour a little bit in here. That should be plenty actually. What we're trying to do. We don't want to soak them in there. We're really just gonna get some white vinegar on there, use a toothbrush and really kind of get into every nook and cranny and just start to clean it up a little bit. White vinegar is really good at eating away rust. So that is how we are going to make the best use out of it for now. And this is really, I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but that is really rusty and disgusting. I might actually let that sink in a little bit more. But, I mean, already starting to see these parts look a lot cleaner. Even just after being dipped in it for a few seconds, which is kind of the whole idea behind it. Polish this up nice. Okay, looks good. As well. Again, more or less just to clean it up than anything else. Not necessarily looking to repolish it. We just don't want it to look like green or brown or whatever colors that end up showing up on these older parts. And when they're done, I'm just going to put them out here on a paper towel. And we'll give them a quick rinse off and then coat them in WD-40, which will protect them from future corrosion. But again, we're just kind of going in, see what we can do to get rid of some of the rust here.